This is the brand new iPhone 14 Pro, and this is a professional $3,500 camera. So I'm sure you've seen this type of video before. I'm going to take some photos in different environments and different lighting conditions with both of these cameras, and then compare and contrast the photos from both of these and see how big the difference is between the brand new iPhone 14 Pro and a professional $3,500 Sony a7S III mirrorless camera. So on the a7S III, I have a Viltrox 24mm lens, which is the same focal length as the main camera on the iPhone. However, the Sony camera is a 12 megapixel camera, which is the same resolution as all the previous iPhones have been, except this year they upgraded the iPhone 14 to a new 48 megapixel sensor. So technically on paper, the iPhone has 4 times more resolution on its photos as the Sony a7S III does. And then also on both the iPhone and on the camera, I'm going to be shooting in RAW, because that's also a feature you can do on the iPhone 14. You can shoot 48 megapixel RAW photos with the primary camera. And then all the photos I'm going to bring into Adobe Lightroom and do slight adjustments for contrast and exposure to try to get the photos looking about the same in terms of brightness and everything like that. However, I'm not going to adjust anything in terms of color and saturation. So everything else is going to be essentially what these two devices will give you straight out of the camera in terms of the color science and the looks of the photos that they give you. Now also, this video is just comparing photos with these cameras. However, if you do want to see me compare the video on the iPhone 14 with an Arri Alexa cinema camera, go down and drop a like on this video and leave a comment. I can definitely do that video as well, just let me know. So after going out and taking some photos with the a7S III and the iPhone 14, I have some conclusions on what I think between the two and which one I like better versus the other. Now right off the bat, both the Sony camera and the iPhone 14 take fantastic looking photos. Out of all the photos I've taken from these, either one I think is 100% acceptable for pretty much any sort of use. At this point in time, both cameras are going to take fantastic looking photos. So just keep that in mind, you really can't go wrong with either of these devices. However, if you really zoom in on these photos and look deep and really just compare them side to side, I would definitely say the iPhone is sharper and more detailed, which completely makes sense because it has 4 times the resolution at 48 megapixels versus 12 megapixels on the Sony. However, they both have fantastic detail and you can really crop in quite a bit on both of them before you start to lose a lot of resolution and detail. Now when it comes to the colors in these photos, this is a lot more subjective and different people are going to like different things when it comes to colors. However, with this one I'd say the Sony has a little bit more punch to its photos. The colors just pop a little bit more than the iPhone. However, since both of these devices can shoot photos in RAW, you have a whole lot of options to adjust the colors in pretty much any way you need to get these photos to look exactly how you want. However, definitely if you're just gonna take a photo straight from one of these devices and not do any sort of editing, the Sony does have a little bit more punch to its photos, a little bit more saturation, and I especially noticed the greens seem to pop a little bit more on the Sony camera as well. And then finally, flaring is also a little bit more visible on the iPhone in backlit conditions where the sun's gonna be shining into the camera. However, this is a little harder to compare camera to camera because this is mostly based off the lens, which of course is fixed on the iPhone. You can't change the lens at all on this. However, with the Sony, there's hundreds of different lenses you can choose from that'll all have a little bit of different characteristics when it comes to flaring. So this is a little bit harder to compare between the two. However, I'm guessing in general, lenses that are meant to go on a professional camera like this are gonna really counteract the flaring a little better than the iPhone will. So I'm still gonna add this in here as the Sony does a little bit better with correcting the flares from the sun as well. And so to wrap things up, of course, a professional photo camera is going to take better looking photos than an iPhone. I think that's probably always going to be the case. However, every year Apple does close that gap just a little more, and the iPhone 14 is no exception. With the new 48 megapixel camera and all the other photo options they've added to this camera, it is a heavy hitter in terms of photography and probably one of the best phone cameras you can get right now. But either way, that wraps this video up. Thank you so much for watching this. Go down to the like button and subscribe if you enjoyed it, as well as leave a comment if you want to see a comparison between the video on the iPhone 14 Pro and an Arri Alexa cinema camera. But that wraps this up. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.